But we are quiet. I would like any a motion on the minutes for the 13th of November.
So moved.
Any questions, deletions, additions? We will do a vote. We have to do roll call because everybody's here, except if Terry decides to come from the netherworld, whatever. All those in favor, signify by aye. It's unanimous, Carolyn. Okay. Parks usage requests. We don't have any. Nobody wants to use our parks. Okay. Mr. Aberdale, you are up.
Field construction and stock.
Just a second. The piles are, one pile is in field mix and the other pile is in top fill. So that's why it's so monstrous. Hold on, we got it. Wow. Your technology is unbelievable.
Usually divided into we did the infield claim. We'll just need to find a rate in the spring. Softball field, same thing, infield constructed. Dimensions. We take down dugouts.
Yes, 6 feet instead of 4 feet. Yeah. Am I correct in assuming also you guys treated and weeded those fields before you replaced the clay? Am I correct? Yeah. So, Tom Norton, I want you to hear what I'm going to say to you. All the stuff we were talking about what's not fair and whatever else, the town has now stepped up and done all of that on all those fields. So the maintenance next year for the leagues will be a lot less than they've had to do because it's all been done by us. We also bought the equipment to power them. So that is very helpful to all.
The final thing I can share with you is the skate park, Rail Street Youth, we challenged them to best feedback together, which is
They can't hear you, Joe. You got to speak up.
I've asked them if they'll have a schematic for us for the January meeting for us to review. So,
Anybody have any questions or concerns for Mr. Aberdale while he's here?
we looked into the soccer field and all that. I'm sorry, yes, I have. I've asked for a schematic showing how we can get the official size soccer. Right.
Okay. So Carolyn, can you just keep a list of stuff that we're gonna develop? She's gone. Where'd she go? No, she's not. Okay, she's gone. All right, so let's have this. We want the soccer field.
Terry's in.
All right, soccer field. What else did you say, Joe?
Skate park.
So we'll probably, I know. Looks like we're gonna have this schematic talking about the answer for that. It looks like maybe we'll share with the Rail Street Youth team that put together this that can show them.
Right, you can, if you look at this, the whole meeting has what? Oh, stop. It just disappeared. All right, I don't know what the hell's going on. The meeting left. She's saying that the meeting has gone off. I'm just taking messages from Carolyn. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know why, but this whole Zoom thing drives me out of my mind because there's nothing I can do about it. And I don't know what the problem is.
Everyone else seems to be okay.
Yeah, it could be Carolyn. Okay, so soccer field and skate park we'll put on the agenda for January. If you look at this, okay, some of it needs to be updated. Because I talked to Devin this afternoon, he's like, well, some of that stuff I got from a list from somebody else. I was like, no, Devin, that's not what we're doing. I want you to have an update and whatever. He says, you're telling me that the asphalt's 20 years old. The field's not that old. So it's not 20. It wasn't done 20 years ago. Okay, so we will look at that. Input would be helpful from you guys. Okay,
Just Joe, question.
that's why he's here.
Regarding Memorial Field, is the chain link fence going to be moved further in? I heard. About that.
There's gonna be a sidewalk.
It's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
think that
solid?
the fence is on the back side of the sidewalk. So we're continuing the sidewalk down right on the edge.
Okay.
And at one point, it comes down.
Is there gonna be sidewalk, grass, and no fence in the group?
I think a little bit further down. The sidewalks.
Okay, I just know that somebody on the tree committee had asked me about a tree that would grow in a chain link fence. But I heard that fence might be moved, so that tree might come down anyway. I don't wanna cut it down, but I think so.
There is a tree that's,
There is a tree that's growing in the chain link fence that somebody doesn't want removed and then replaced once.
We replaced one, I think, as it was going down in, was all intertwined. You and I talked about that.
I think that's the picture.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
Okay. But the entire fence on the perimeter of Memorial is going to be
I
moved.
can send you a schematic so you can see where it is, and so you can make a decision. But I think we gotta be careful that it doesn't grow over.
Yeah, I'm gonna suggest very strongly that everything gets done there. And then we talk about where trees are gonna go.
Of course,
Because,
of course. I was just wondering if like that tree was taken care of and if the fence was gonna move, just for my own knowledge. And then moving forward, yes, of course, after everything's done, we're going to.
hey, Joe, can you just move up? Because that microphone's not working. So if you just move yourself up, they'll hear you on the owl. That'd be great. That's good.
okay, yeah. One of the things that everybody's like, oh, we wanna have trees, we wanna have shade. Nothing will get done. If you go look at the field now, it's gonna probably be, I would suggest, end of May before anything will be close to being done. We got the sod in and there's been enough water and it's warm enough, hopefully, that sod will root. It's gonna look like $1 million when it's done. Any other questions for Joe? We've got the new pads are in. The way we're gonna have to handle baseball and softball next year is gonna be very different because of what we can do through DPW. So we have the right equipment, the power rakes and things like that. So that will change at grade level, I'm hoping. Okay. Terry, do you have any questions? Because you just got in here late in the game, brother.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Grove Street. Joe?
I took it upon myself. When the CPA deadline was approaching, I actually put 2 applications in, one for the Grove Street, which would be the next step. We're gonna look that up there. Upgrading the multi-purpose court. And then I also put one in for a pickleball course over on Dewey that we discussed a little bit, but no real decision. So after step 1, making it through step 1, I pulled out the Dewey and I just left the Grove Street. Because it was kind of I felt comfortable that you all were on board with the plan we seen, but didn't vote on it. So I guess, I sent you all the application. I don't know if you have seen it. But basically, I think what you'll see on that is, the overall project is around $208,000. We've invested monies, already done completed pieces of it. And I'm looking for $95,000 to do the court work. So I think, Karen, we want the commission to decide if we continue to move forward on Wednesday with this.
Correct.
application.
Step 2. I want to hear from the commission.
But one of the things to understand, when Karen and Joe we're part of the CPA meeting, Joe in the audience and Karen is the chair, there isn't a whole lot of money available. So every group has to kind of decide where they want to put their stake, and they still may get turned down. So I think withdrawing one of the two was a smart idea, because we weren't getting both.
Right, just to give you a parameter, there's $2.2 million requested from CPA. We have approximately $800,000 to distribute. So anybody who thinks they're gonna get whatever is dreaming. We think that the Grove Street, because it can be used as multi-use, it can be used as a basketball court. It can be used as pickleball courts. It can be used for walking. We've gotten the parking level enough, and there's a new fence cut in, a gate. So, Megan can get down and she can actually walk around the court, which is also, the other thing that'll be great, so you know, is there'll be a walking circle at the baseball court. There'll be a full loop, so people can use that. Whatever we're doing, we've got to make sure it's not a playground. It's got to be able to be used by multi-ages, multi-function, you know, whatever. We cannot just limit things to whatever. We are putting a decent amount of money into the playground equipment there, so that will be very helpful. And we've got more benches stuff, and there'll be more stuff like that, so we can just develop them. And I'm also looking to see, there's plenty of shade at that park, I believe. Yeah, so I don't think that's gonna be a concern, but I'm curious what everybody else is. Go ahead, Alana.
I have some questions just about, so this CPA grant is specifically for resurfacing the court that exists right now.
About 8 to 10 feet wider
Okay.
on the park side,
Okay,
and then we'll be resurfacing to some extent. And the exact method, there's different methods out there.
so as far as what resurfacing involves and what multi-use it is appropriate for, I assume that there's like a range of surfaces that people can choose, and that some surfaces are more amenable to certain sports and others for other things. Explain to me like where we sit in what we're trying to accommodate, and also where it falls in terms of like what we have to spend, because it looks to me like by the pictures, like something has to be done.
See the pictures, it's in tough shape.
Yeah.
So, one of the methods we were talking is, putting epoxying down a fabric.
Uh-huh.
And then putting, a new surface of blacktop on it, and then some epoxy coating on the top. And that would be good for basketball, tennis, volleyball, pickleball.
Okay.
And then we could paint the courts accordingly in different colors.
That sounds like the best plan that you've found, but explain to me, like, are there other choices? Would someone coming here to inquire as to whether or not we've done our due diligence about all of the options, would someone else come with another solution that we might want to consider?
Maybe as far as the surface.
Yeah.
Epoxy based, or, because you don't want to just leave it. Because, all the aggregates right there, someone trips and falls, they're gonna skin their knees open pretty good. Where the aggregate will, or the epoxy will prevent.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen like, Lennox has built a couple pickleball courts. I think, Egremont has over on the side of Look Park and has an epoxy surface on it.
Okay.
So it's somewhat forgiving.
There's a little give to it.
Yeah.
And it's good. Kids can play, they can skip rope, they can play jacks, they can play basketball, they can play foursquare, they can
It can be rubberized like the track.
and we can they can roller skate on it. That's the beauty of this, is to make it so it's acceptable for a lot of them.
And just so that I understand the procedure, like what we're trying to decide on is whether or not just to go to the next step, not to make decisions about exactly what we do with how we finish it or whatever.
Well, it's not, I'll be honest with you. You're not gonna make the decision. I'm not gonna make the decision.
Right.
Joe's gonna make the decision. What we're asking is the green light from you guys.
But the decision is not being made today.
No, and then it's gotta go to town meeting.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, we're way away. The
Right.
town meeting makes a decision for the next fiscal year starting July 1.
We're talking Grove Street.
Yep. We're not talking Dewey at this point.
Right.
Well,
it makes sense that since we're doing so much concentrating on Grove Street right now,
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. That
we put everything in to see what would
Yeah.
stick. We put
Right.
step one through. I knew full well when we did it, it probably wasn't gonna get to the next level, but that was okay, because I wanted to at least have the opportunity. You know what I mean?
And Dewey's down the road anyways.
Absolutely.
So makes sense to me that Joe did one application. Concentrate on growth.
Well, we've already committed to it.
Right, yeah.
We've already done some work to be put in the parking, we built the, stuff like that. Anybody else? Julie, Bill,
Going forward,
questions, concerns, issues?
No.
Super, Bill?
I think we just painted the tennis courts up at, yeah, but that's easy.
The pickleball
Just-
thing.
Yeah, and something pickleball, I think we have to talk about whenever we talk about any kind of playing surface, it should be just a multi-use with different lines on it.
Yep.
Pickleball, tennis, and basketball.
Absolutely.
Because pickleball
Unfortunately.
and foursquare, whatever. I mean, it's like, I just think we just have to make it as available to as many different things as possible.
Yep. Agreed.
I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to support this going to the next stage.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, roll call. Julie,
yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Bill.
Yep.
Alana.
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes,
Karen, yes. Unanimous. Great. Thank you, Joe. For all your work on that. Okay. TPC pickleball, we already discussed it. Okay. Brandy Nelson has decided to adorn our meeting with her presence this evening because she wants to go over the master plan that we was sent and what she's trying to do. So Brandy, why don't you move your chair up to the owl and talk to us because this mic isn't working.
I'm a loud talker, so I think the owl can probably pick me up
Oh, I hope so.
there. Right. First of all, thank you very much for making time for me on the agenda. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Brandy Nelson. I'm the chair of the planning board. And the planning board has purview over the master plan. And our master plan, for those of you who maybe participated in it years ago, was approved in 2013, and so it's 10 years old now. And the planning board said, boy, we should take stock of kind of how we're progressing on implementing the master plan, because there's no use in making a plan if we're not going to actually implement it in our community. So the plan had a lot of goals and objectives in it. And at the time, those goals and objectives were assigned to various committees in our community. And it never has occurred to planning board prior to now to take stock of where we stand and make sure that committees know that those tasks are on their to-do list or check in with the committees to see how we're progressing. And so I just want to apologize that we've not had the exact communication and dialogue yet. We're trying to remedy that. And so our first goal as the planning board is to do outreach broadly to all the committees and just say, hey, commission or board, did you realize that as part of the master plan you have these tasks? And if so, how are you doing on them? If not, let's start looking at them and see if we can progress them forward or decide whether or not they're relevant in the community anymore. We want to continue to have more dialogue with you because I think our next step after we take stock of where we are in implementation of the master plan now is to say, do we need to think about updating our master plan? So that's kind of down the road, but if you want to start thinking in terms of where do we see ourselves in the next 10 years, we want to start having that round of conversation with everybody, probably like starting late winter, early spring of next year. So for now, I had forwarded Karen the list of items that had fallen to the Parks Commission, and there were just 4 items. Chris Rumble had taken a attempt at just trying to figure out where you guys are at in the implementation of those 4 tasks. Did everyone receive them?
No.
Oh, you didn't share that out?
No, I didn't share it out because, first of all,
You're like, this is so.
it was stuff we'd already done. You know what I'm saying? I think we sent it out, but it was a while ago.
And so, I mean, it was 4 things. And
Can you just read them quick? Do you have them with them?
Yeah, listening to you tonight, I can tell that it's on your radar. So one was making sure that there were passive park features to support active features, things like benches, chess tables, picnic tables, things like that. The other was making sure that, park improvements are multidimensional, which I think I heard those words come out of.
Yeah, I think, I know why, yeah.
Good providing signage at park facilities, just to make sure people know where various park resources are. And the last one was developing, a map of town parks and recreational facilities. Possibly partnering with Great Barrington Trails or other groups to share information and pool resources. And I don't know, we probably need like a town app that has like all of the various features.
Well, we're kind of on the, you want to explain the time bond thing that we,
Yeah.
When I came here, I didn't log in information. That has since been shared with the people in the building here that are working on our new ones.
Yeah, okay.
So hopefully that will be migrated in. And then also tailored into that, hopefully the trails list that everybody work on here, so I'm gonna put that trails. We almost need what's on our website now, plus what
needs to be.
that other piece of it. So, and it is a pretty complete map. And it part of that study goes on, it even evaluated all the equipment at all the parks, which isn't part of the website. But for the commission to, as we work through some of these parks and what to do.
Okay, great. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to say, in terms of kind of like the planning board's first goal is just to take stock of where we are in implementation. It sounds like for you guys, you're well underway with your implementation. So my request of you would be maybe over the next few meetings to sort of start thinking, I don't know if you have a parks master plan, like you want to implement certain things over the next 5 years, since you've done an asset management plan. But if you are seeing other, maybe recreational opportunities that we're not, capitalizing on in the community, or if there are things that the planning board can do to help you guys achieve your goals, we would want to start having a couple of conversations with you.
I spoke to Karen about that, I don't know if it's today or last time we talked, but, last year when I was putting the budget together, there's no like 5-year plan for what the parks wants to do with the budget. What's in your mind. So I kind of took what all you guys agreed last year's budget. I'm in the process of doing it now. So we have money allocated, and it's just generally under park improvements, so we can use it for other things than what I kind of earmarked it for when I assembled the budget. But
There was a 5-year capital plan, but it was really just on paper.
okay,
We used it for the budget, but then never spent the way we planned to.
it would be nice to take, I think, based on what, like, the whole idea of the soccer field down, Olympian, the development of that, and that whole process and what that's gonna take, and taking the assets that we have, like the skate park, we'll see in that the amount of assets that we'll need to get that up to speed. So there's stuff like that we can set up in 12-month, 24, 36, 48, 60-month goals as to what we want to do developmentally with the parks. That what's going on down here is incredible, but that's $500,000 redo. Housatonic is in fairly decent shape. The Hoosier Park is in good shape. Giggle Park is now, this is going to be redone. So there's a lot of stuff that has been ongoing over a long period of time. And it's just all sort of coming to fruition. I would love to see us have a map that is going to be on this website that shows when somebody goes, they just pull up parks and it just pops it, and what's there. So if you have a visitor come in, they have a 5-year-old, where do we go in this town that has something for them to do? So that would be developmentally down the line. And I think over the next, 2 years, we can start to aim towards that. And I think the next part of what we want to talk about can be very indicative on how that happens. Because it ain't happening in this room, I can tell you that. It just isn't. There's too much to do.
What is that?
I'd like you all to,
No.
we all talked 6 months, 8 months ago. You guys decided to focus on Dewey and Grove. Kind of took the lead, and you had your public meetings and gathering and things like that. So I think if we think through that and say, hey, look, I think we've made the conscious decision, skate park next. And then work towards the fields, the soccer field, that would be metal. So again, as I'm working on an FY25 budget, I'm penciling those in on my worksheet as monies to do. You know, we have some monies. We have monies, and penciled in last year was monies to get the soccer field permitted. With an engineer, so we have that money already. Now let's get the money for constructing it once we see it all works.
Yeah, but the permitting of that field is about $25,000 to get it the way you want. And then you have to figure out what you're gonna cost to do it.
So 20, say that again, 25
$1,000 to permit,
to, once you design it, and then get it planned. I don't,
So we're gonna be in the buffer zone. Okay, so we're gonna be into compensatory storage, because you're gonna change elevations and grades, and you know, it's all gotta be engineered out.
Mhm.
Comes out, it's gotta go back in a similar place, things like that.
Right.
So it's a substantial thing. I don't even think constructing it next year would be possible because of the money that has to go in it. But the following year, clearly, if we all decide to move forward. I guess my point is, you know, if we look to the next 5 years, you know, and say, hey, look at, we're doing this one at FY25, we're looking at doing this in FY25, soccer field FY26, what's up FY27? You know,
But, and there's also this piece about maintenance and knowing that these things are gonna come back around. And
Right.
so if we can take a little bit of a longer view, I think it's less heavy lifting.
well, it's like the skate park, you know, I mean, they made a statement in here saying the asphalt has been replaced in 20 years. That's crazy. But what happened there needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
And that is gonna be very costly. So before we take on any other huge projects, we need to take care of what we got. Too.
which we, you know, we are stepping up a little bit, you know, back a few months ago, you guys approved me spending $15,000 to work with, try to get an outside contractor to doing some work to upgrade some of what we're working on. So this winter, it's the dugouts on the softball field. The next thing, if we still have time this winter, I already have a contractor lined up to work by the hour, take care of it, is to go on to the Little League building, that the block building that needs a roof on it. So, you know, we're gonna start chipping away at that kind of stuff too, with the money already approved. So, and again, I think what it does is like, the commission has asked a lot of the buildings and grounds group, which is fine. Because we all know volunteers are getting lesser and lesser, busier and busier, so we have to take more on ourselves if we want to maintain it. So it's a burden, you know. Cemeteries this year maybe took a little bit of a brunt of it. They weren't maintained as good as they could, you know. We mowed them twice a month instead of 3 times, things like that. It's a big picture.
I'm wondering if the planning board needs to know, wants to know anything about the next item on our agenda. If that has anything to do with the planning boards.
No, not at this juncture. I don't think so. Okay, so the next item on the agenda,
Do you have what you want?
are you done?
I can leave if that's.
No, you don't have to.
The other thing is just to create a two-way street here in terms of if we can be helpful in helping provide demographic information, or as we're looking to rezone areas for higher density, do you guys feel like there's adequate recreational facilities available? Like, I assume you're taking kind of that 10,000 foot view of recreational facilities in our community. Are they meeting the community's needs, and do we need to, you know, add or take away? So,
I can take away what?
recreational facilities, like, do we have what we need based on the demographics?
Calm down, you're gonna get a shot,
can't.
okay? Now, go ahead and talk, all right?
So you want us, like, in the next few meetings, just to talk about like what our priorities are going to be, if we're meeting them?
I'll let Karen like lead the charge, you know, based on how comments are bubbling up, but again, what we're trying to do is like look ahead for the next 10 years and think, where is the community going? We have the last 10 years to look back on. There have been some demographic shifts. We've got climate-related issues that we're trying to plan for. We are trying to have more density in the portions of our community where there's sewer and water, so that we have less sprawl, which means, encouraging walkability. And I think you guys have probably a lot to say about being able to walk to recreational facilities and what facilities we already get to. So, we just want to make sure that as we're thinking ahead, we're not leaving other groups that are thinking specifically about parks and recreation or any other committees specific area focus out of that conversation. So I'll let you guys tell me when you want to have another conversation, but we'd like to talk with you about what is.
Go ahead. Because she's about to go out the chair and I do not want to launch. You're next, okay? There you go. Go ahead, Lauren.
I know you know this, but indoor recreational facilities that are accessible to the young people in this community are severely lacking, and that feels like right on the edge of the scope of this board, and that is what we're trying to talk about and trying to work with. But if there was interest and reciprocity and communication around like the planning board also knowing that that is an essential piece of the puzzle. I know you know this. It feels urgent, not only that, but as far as accessibility and recreational facilities, this community is not wholly walkable, and the public transportation is severely lacking, and that is a huge relevant issue that I know you know about, but also I want to make sure that we as a community are talking about this sort of thing. I can imagine one thing that I just made a note about in terms of park signage and stuff is like, I can't figure out how to use the public transportation, and I'm trying to figure it out.
What public?
The BRTA.
Oh, that's the block.
Yeah. So if we as a town and as a parks commission want to make the parks accessible to people that are here visiting or that are here with limited ability to get around, these are pieces that we need to work together to figure out.
There's also the initiative that was started just recently, where you within the 3-mile radius, you can get a ride. Tri-town.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are trying to work on this, but I just feel, and so I think that that's the piece of the puzzle. But I think since you're coming here asking this question, like part of the answer is this is also a group that is wrestling with these issues. Trying to get my 13-year-old to Berkshire South. It's like a non-starter.
In the car, silly.
I so would do that.
I understand you.
I would do that.
Julie, go ahead.
I had similar comments along the same lines as Lana. I think we need more indoor recreational facilities. I don't know what the protocol is still in this town about like reusing existing spaces. I know we have the cove bowling, but I feel like this town needs more of what used to be part of every town. A roller skating rink, just more indoor soccer fields. Also a safe bicycle route all around the town, up to Housatonic. I don't feel safe at all bicycling around here. And it should be like something that is just a given because of the nature of the county. So I think that is like critical. And I just, because of the Parks and Recreation, I always wonder, are we responsible for safe bicycle and pedestrian? Like, or is that planning board? But I would say that
a nexus of
yeah.
several different groups.
And I feel like that it kind of is like just something that would definitely is very relevant between planning and parks, like just like the access to recreational facilities on bicycle, on foot is crucial. Rather than relying constantly on just some parents driving children around or driving yourself, people want to just be able to go outside and walk or bicycle to a place safely. I still think we have a huge hole around the Duke Park area. I think that is just like one center of dense settlement that requires some kind of attention, for recreation. We have that field in the courthouse, and I think it's just one place that that, you know, could really use our attention. I think even before soccer, and before all of these places that we are all have plans that concentrated in one area, we need to kind of start moving out and just creating these pockets that are accessible for people. I'm so happy that we're doing Grove and that we're almost complete. But I think do just like one case that just like we need to like really just start making these kind of hubs. Doing those and then going back and adding to what we already have, like soccer field. Personally.
I caution you on Dewey. There's going to be a groundswell of stay out of our park. I'm letting you know, we have a lot of, those are our parks. And that mentality, we need to start combating and educating, I think is a better word, but
You're correct in that, but we haven't seemed to let that bother us at Grove Street. And I think at Dewey, we have to,
that's the next
Bring them
step for
along.
us, I think
Yeah.
is Dewey.
Yeah.
I hear you about the, you know, the hand going on and on about the soccer field down there. First of all, that could be used as a semi-field for the next 2 years while this is all being done. I think that our next focus should be Dewey. Without a doubt. Anybody else? Any other comments on this? Brandy, thank you for taking the time. I think what I'd like to do is, in the next couple months, let us deal with what we're dealing with. And then I think if we meet with you 3 or 4 times a year, just have a, you know, then we should have a cross year sometime late spring with the planning board and whatever, just focus, you know, it could be before one of your meetings or before one of ours, get a couple of the planning board people here, sit down and go over where we're at and what the thought processes are. I think that would be helpful. Okay.
and I will say, the good news is, and I've looked at some other master plan items for other boards, that all 4 of these we've either completed or done pretty well on. Yeah, I mean, the signage, for instance, for the first time in history, every park had the sign that says their name, which people still didn't know that there were actually parks there, let alone that they had a name. So I think we've done well, and I think we probably could take on some more tasks as we move ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna run to the bathroom. Could you tell them about Stanley Park? Could you tell this commission about it?
We got the.
You got,
They're all on board. Yeah.
all right, okay, great.
Does that include water access?
What's that?
Is that river access?
Not get carried away yet. That could be in the next part of the master plan.
The little girl. Thank you all.
Thanks, Brandon. I'll be in touch. We're going for it.
Okay, just in reference to that, everybody sent stuff to Joe, which is fine. I think there needs to be a subcommittee on this that needs to meet. Not only go over everything that was said, but that, not to recreate a wheel, but I think we need to go talk to Lee. Okay. And any of the other groups. I think there are 2, I don't know, I'm not sure West Stockbridge, but I know Lee has a very strong recreation. And I would suggest any other town that's similar size to us, that we need to go get some information, because my concern at this point is that limited assets. If you're talking about putting on a full-time person, it's anywhere from $65,000 to $85,000 a year with all the stuff. And my concern is the amount of work that has had to be done for all the stuff we've been yelling at him about. there's not enough man hours. He does not have the horses to do that. And I'm thinking that this needs to develop over the next year, for the next budget cycle. But I actually think that where we need to get is, it would be prudent for us to develop this job description, that it would be tight. That the discussion with the schools and how that would all, before we even go anywhere. Because I think going to town meeting and asking for it, we could probably do it. But I certainly, based on everything that's happened in the last year and a half with Joe's guidance and leadership, we have gotten stuff done that's just incredible, seriously. And all the parks, I think we need to support. We need a dedicated Parks and Rec guy, gal, whatever, humanoid that does all of the stuff. You know, the amount of stuff that needs to be done. And I'm just thinking that I hear what you're saying. So what I would like to do is have all these are great, this litany of suggestions. To sit down with 2 or 3 people, subcommittee of this group. You have to post the meeting and go and dig into it like you guys did with Grove Street. I mean, you did some great work with that, you and Sir Debbie. So I'm thinking that this would be an absolute opportunity. And I know that Bill and Tom and Alana were very, it could be 2 or 3 of you. Whatever. But I think that that's where I see the next step. And you guys can tell me to go stick it in my ear, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. I mean, this is all stuff that came from you guys.
This would be a concern I would support Joe at DPW with regards to park.
I think it would support programming at parks. It would support needs at parks. It would probably, we see that youth programs, and we would have to get buy-in from, I'm not here to take over the youth programs, but some of them may be very happy if someone from the town would be helpful to them because they just don't have enough volunteers to do scheduling, et cetera. Some may say, we don't want anything to do with you, fine. That's okay.
If you're serving the need, that's terrific. But I think those are just the tip of the iceberg of what we can actually do if we have someone.
And this is what has to be fleshed out. Going with the existing structure of like the Hoosie basketball. Best of luck blowing that wall open. That's a tight group. They do a great job. It works well. Whether they're going to want any help, or the Sean Flynn soccer thing, or all the, there's just so many pieces.
But scheduling maintenance, like they'll come to you directly about like floors needing maintaining, like who's dome, like that.
Well, no, not so much that. There's also what you don't see. There, some of these have traveling teams. There's meetings in Pittsfield that they do scheduling, et cetera. All things that we could help with. Also, wintertime. This has to be a full-time position, or I'm assuming it's a full-time. We have nothing in the winter. We don't do the skate rink anymore for a variety of reasons. Cross-country skiing, could we do it somewhere? Is there someone in town that we could actually try to sponsor something? Yeah.
When does football sign up? When does soccer? Swimming at Simon's Rock,
Also, when there is a maintenance need, that goes directly from the program to Joe, but also what about the coordination with the schools and the other recreational, what I was curious about with the bigger picture is like, what about things that use indoor facilities at the school during one time of the year and want to move to the fields at another time of the year? And why aren't we all working together to make this stuff more accessible?
Also, I can foresee if we get this far, that someone would coordinate things and report to the chair of the parks as opposed to the chair having to coordinate things. And Joe not having to do quite as much.
Right. Because there's a lot, and I know you may not believe this, but I would suggest 10 to 12 hours a week. I'm doing stuff with him on this. And it would be great if we could get somebody who is not only doing that, but meeting with the athletic director of the school or the AD at the, what's going on with Railroad Street. The other thing is, remember, we have programs run by Railroad Street and Berkshire Sound. This person isn't gonna are we gonna try to have them take that over from that? I mean, it starts to get a little tricky here, so I'm just
That's where the subcommittee comes in.
step cautiously. That's why I want the subcommittee to do this.
They may say yes, definitely, or they may say, no, that's working out fine. There's
Yeah,
enough
don't
to
mess
do
with it.
without- Don't mess with it. So that's why the subcommittee needs to sit down and brainstorm about what needs to be done here and what's going well and just keep out of it.
So maybe like Railroad Street would actually report to this person and then they would come here and give you an overview of what's happening in all these different locations rather than we having to go toe to toe with. Oh, I love them.
I love it. Having a point person that if it's to do with parks and recreation in the town of Great Barrington, 0 to 80, that's your person. And if that person, it would allow us to really get developmentally down the line with what we're starting to look at long-term with the planning board. It's more not nuts and bolts and going and looking at Karen, go look at McAllister Park. Is it really that way? It doesn't need to be that way.
But the subcommittee may also come up and say, this is a part-time position. We just can't find enough work, but that's where you have to dig down and figure out, is there enough work for full-time? Remember, there's benefits. It's not a cheap position once you make it full-time. So you need to tell the parks, we've got a lot of research. Yeah, there's enough work full-time. And it can really improve the quality for kids in this town and adults, or no, there really isn't.
One thing I noticed was when we established our soccer field this summer, people were coming up to me, well, who, wanting to play them, well, who do you call, and it's like, you go to the website, you call Karen.
They called me all the time, I
Yeah.
said, go play.
Right, but when the play is.
And we put up signs that said, please play. And if you've been here an hour, move off and let the next team.
But the point is, this would make sense if there was a person that, if they have a question, you say, yeah, there's the person.
Well, we kind of have, in a way, because you have your park usage forms that you use. And we were having, if you think back, a year ago, the conflict we were having with Houstonic Community Center and schedules and stuff like that with overlap. So we created a calendar. And it gets put on there, it gets updated, and so that was the next step once which is good. You have that problem with too many people that use it. You start a calendar or something like that. And that can be done in the interim while you're studying this position. I think this position is a great thing to dig into and study. What we can do with it, what services we want to offer, learn about how the programs run with Railroad Street and Southern Berkshire Youth Center because I don't think we want to turn around again. I say that, but maybe that committee should say it's like they interview and hire and train lifeguards. You don't want to do that, or do we want to still use them for those services? And I'm talking not just talk to 2 or 3; they're probably 6 or 7. And same thing with the park in Houstonic. If you decide to continue with that, same with Railroad Street. It's like sometimes it's worth it to hire these people and pay a little bit and have to do those services, but helping them promote their things or helping them generate a program. That's a good high level thing.
If we want to say to Berkshire South, you're doing a great job, we're just not drawing the people. It's our responsibility, if we have someone on staff, to figure out, brainstorm what we need to do to get more kids at our parks.
Yeah, and here's, and I will tell you, and he's not here, but I'm gonna tell you what Mr. Gibbons said. This is for our kids in Great Barrington. We're not here to take care of everybody else's kids. So that's another concern. I'm not saying it's the focal, but it's definitely a bit, we end up, anytime we ever did anything in this town, 50% of the kids that were participating were not Barrington residents because we're a hub. And I think that that's part of it, but I think that we need to be cognizant of that as we do all this.
If you turn around and you have that subcommittee that's digging into that, and that's what you're finding, you talk, to the Little League or the Houstonic basketball, and they share with you, hey, 50% are Houstonic, Great Barrington, 50% are somewhere else. Maybe you approach those towns and they kick into part of that position and make it.
That's what this subcommittee really needs to do.
I've seen, just in general, our taxes in Great Barrington, we bear the brunt of the public activity for all of South Berkshire, and our costs keep going up to run the town and to provide for that hub. And the towns surrounding us don't. They're
Well, you
not-
look at Sheffield's budget, you look at West Stockbridge and Stockbridge budget when it comes to youth and park and rec, and then look at ours, and you're gonna see a great difference
Yeah, well, it's not just that, but in everything.
in all of it.
But Tom, you're right, but the rationale is you're trying to play baseball and you only have 15 kids from Great Barrington. They can't play baseball. They can't have more than one team. So now you have to share, but you're absolutely right. Maybe someone else is, hey, yeah.
We're playing to get people from everywhere.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Which is not a bad thing.
no, it's great. It's great for community.
They're here, they're spending money, they're using the local. facilities.
Somewhere in there, we gotta see, because we talk about, you know, having the, user fees for the parks or whatever, but somewhere in there, you know, well, we're paying our taxes in Great Barrington, so, you know, we shouldn't have to, we should get to use them.
We don't get no user fees, yeah.
Right, but it would be a way to try to, you know, to try to make the revenue. I think that's an issue with it, you know.
It's a huge, this is a huge, to get to this, and I'll use Brandy's word because it's perfect. Nexus in our development as a town and park and rec. We are at a precipice of now what the hell do we do? Now we're getting to the point where Joe's got things working beautifully and it's like, oh, but we need more hands to do the job he's doing. And now, well, maybe we need more hands to organize what we're doing. So this is the right time developmentally about what we have to do and what we know. What I'm asking is, who wants to do this? I do not have the time or effort to do this at this point. So it's gotta be, I figure it's gotta be a minimum of 2, could be 3 if they wanted to do it. But
Can I just ask a question? Are we as, are you as a commission thinking this position for FY 25, or let's work it out and consider it for FY 26?
I think we can do FY 25 and fail miserably. Or we can do FY 26 and be prepared. Really make sure that we have all of our I's dotted and T's
Ducks in a
crossed.
row.
And we may say no. I mean, I'm telling you, let's not make a decision now. We're not voting to create this position. But if we try to do it, that would mean in the next 6 weeks, you would have to make a decision. Because the budget is,
We're not ready.
what Joe's alluding to is the budget's being designed now.
Right, that, and then also, you know, there were other positions last year that were talked about through the budgetary process that were taken out, right? I mean, you know, people in town hall, you know, for example, an IT position, this town is not. Have first, how vulnerable are we? I'm not having a discussion here. So taxes will lose millions of dollars. You know, it's like, so I think like I mentioned about the, but even like the buildings and grounds group. We turn around and we've taken on a lot of stuff and we're taxed a little bit at times, and maybe that position, you know, another person in that position takes a priority. But I think, you know, by being prepared, knowing services we can offer, put it in the right priority and with the town manager as far as hiring a position, like, you know, there, you know, I don't think I'd have a hard time supporting this, knowing some of the positions that didn't make it last year that may go in the budget this year.
Hey, let's be honest, the town's gone over 250 years without one. We can go one more.
Yep.
I mean, let's do it right the first time. Yeah, because it's not gonna be an easy sell, although this town always supports youth, always supports the parks. But there is a stretching point where, you know, they just might not, especially with salaries, and Joe's absolutely right, with salaries, we can just have so many. And so if we really want to make sure this is the right thing for us and we can sell it.
if we've done our homework and our research, if you come in with a plan as to what they're gonna do, where you've checked it out, and that, you know, oh, we started this in the winter of 2023. We're presenting this to you in 2025. This has not been rushed to judgment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think, knowing full well what happened with Abby Schroeder at town meeting last year, when she walked up and went, 50,000, and it was blinko. I think doing this correctly and presenting it correctly, we can get it done, but it needs to be done.
Well, the difference between that and this quite simply, that was a one-time ask.
Right.
This is not a one-time ask.
This is a repetitive, plus you've got, what's that stupid thing that drives me crazy? They get the recidivism thing or the reunion, they get it every 7 years, people get a bonus or something when they're here.
A long-term,
Long-term, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
but it's just insurance is expensive, everything.
two of us aren't here, so we may not want to create a subcommittee now. But I have the information, it's all here, that all the suggestions that came in. So I can hold it, we can do it next month. I'm appealing to all of you, because it was your ideas. Now,
No one has a similar position.
I would suggest Lee would be your closest bet.
About Dalton, maybe.
Dalton may,
Dalton too.
Dalton is probably paid by the CRA, not paid by the town, I think. But it still would be interesting to learn, other than financial, what they do.
And their brains would not be a
Yeah.
bad idea.
I'm like, oh,
The Community Recreation Association.
a little bigger and a little smaller.
Yeah, I think that's a great, if you use Dalton and Lee as a comparison, based on how many kids they serve, how many programs they have, if you get all that, all that detail loaded in a then I think it's a good start.
They both may have buildings. We don't have buildings.
Changes the whole thing.
Yeah, Lennox is another one. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big deal.
I mean, would this be in Housatonic? Would this person be in an office in Housatonic?
That's why you have a subcommittee,
It's a good question.
because here's the other thing. There is a room in the Hoosie Dome that is, there's gonna be some access things changed there, but there's no reason in God's green earth in that front room, Joe,
Oh, yeah, it's underutilized.
that could absolutely be an office space for somebody. Absolutely. And we're gonna change the access into we're looking at changing the way you go into the Hoosie Dome. When you walk in, you go right in the dead center. I think Joe's come up with a plan where they go out to the sides and come in so people don't traipse all over the floor. So there's some stuff afoot about how you cut through it, so.
That's the voting room that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Where we used to have,
Yeah, where they used to vote.
now we're in the gym.
Most of the time, the gym, yeah.
Yeah, one
That's a
day,
good community room, meeting room.
Yeah.
We had parks meeting.
a wall put up there, you could have a space, it could be expanded into the park, who knows? There's plenty of room, I think, to use that space for an office. Because there's no room here at town hall, except in the basement. So what's your pleasure?
I'll help with it. But I'm not gonna get on by myself, so.
Okay.
I think we all understand that.
That's kind of what I feel. Just work much right now. And it could be.
I'm also working too much right now.
No.
I have it all in this file.
But let's see if next meeting there's other
So
people
next
want to do
meeting,
it.
everybody think about it. Let Paul come back. Let's.
Paul's on the phone now.
I'm not here next meeting.
Paul's here.
I'll think about it, but I still do want to focus on Dewey with Sri.
Well, that's not where you're going right now. If we need to know as a group, if that's where we want to go. If you want to table this and focus on that, that's fine too. This is not, oh, you have to do it now. I'm just saying, this is something you all have.
How much of a commitment is what I'm.
I propose 1 hour a month and we have some time. to
You have
work
plenty of
with it.
time. 1 or 2 hours a month is all you need.
And that's all I got.
Okay.
So is there 3 of you want to do it? Is that what I'm saying? You're all there.
Which 3? Uno, dos, tres? Great. So I'm gonna make a motion that we do a subcommittee looking at a position for Park and Rec. That will consist of 3 persons, the subcommittee of the commission. So
Second.
that would be, thank you. Now, the other thing you guys have got to know, that it's gotta be a posted meeting. And you gotta keep minutes.
So if it's posted.
you're
then
gonna,
Someone like me could attend. If I-
that's absolutely correct.
If I could.
The way you post it
Without
now,
reading it myself, but it would be open that I could be a part of it if I can get to it, you know.
if you're a big boy and can drive to it, you should be all right.
Or we're zooming.
What's that?
Well, if you're gonna do that, now
I
understand,
know, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
no, because especially in the next 2 months, because Carolyn is leaving. That means I'm gonna have to be Carolyn for the month of January. I leave at the end of January and I'm gone for 6 weeks. So it's, the transition is gonna be a little tough.
So so seriously, what do you need for us for that? I mean, you need the agenda posted, the procedures, we send the agenda to Carolyn.
Right.
It gets
Actually, you can
posted.
send it to, Kathy Couch,
Okay,
or send it to me for now. Just send the agenda to me, where, when, and the agenda. And the agenda can be, you know, very broad. It doesn't have to be,
Discussion of the topics.
yeah, just topic on, oh,
It's okay.
let's talk about Lee, let's talk about Dalton, let's talk about, but
It has to be specific enough where people can understand what you're gonna be talking about, or you don't have to go into paragraphs.
great, and the minutes, we can work that out.
you put them together and you get them back to me at this point.
Okay.
All right. Terry, do you have any interest? Terry, are you with us, brother?
Yes.
Yep. No, I got nothing to add.
Okay. I just want to make
I think we're
sure.
moving in the right direction.
I don't know. You have to talk to them. Don't talk to me. Yes, Terry is retired. That doesn't mean Jack. Let me tell you. Okay, anything else? All right. Oh, good. Citizens, do you want to speak? Okay, committee. Paul, do you have anything you want to say? Did he go away?
He's still there.
Paul Gibbons, do you have anything you want to say?
Star 6 to unmute yourself.
I have no idea.
Or not.
Okay. Julie?
I'm good.
Yeah.
We heard from the Conservation Commission about the letter that we sent to them.
Yeah.
What's the proceeding? Do we wait for them to get in touch with us or?
Probably either the chair delegates you to call their chair or our chair.
There you go. You're delegated.
Just call the chair and say, you got the letter?
Who's the chair of the Concom?
So you want to ask that? Because I don't remember.
I don't either.
I should, but I don't.
Okay. Paul?
Nothing, thank you.
Karen? No, motion adjourned? So moved. All in favor? Aye. Bye. Thank you.